it's Willam Joy with WFAA, and we're doing another one of those COVID-19 vaccine updates, getting you caught up to speed on everything that's been happening with the COVID-19 vaccines over the past couple weeks, because we missed last week with the winter storm going on and the week before that. So first off, I want to give you kind of an outline of what we're going to talk about. And as a reminder, remember, if you have any questions about the vaccines or what's going on with them, make sure you put those questions in the comments so that we can get to them next time. So our outline for today is we're going to go over, first off, the current pace, how quickly we're vaccinating everybody, then talk about some of the issues we had during the winter storms, then talk about the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine that everybody's talking about, the allocation dispute between Dallas and Tarrant counties in the state, and then 1C, that's the new or the next vaccine allocation group, people who will be able to get the vaccine and kind of what we know and don't know about that at this point. So right now, across the US, our 7-day or weekly average is 1.7 million vaccinations per day. That's really good news because remember, the initial goal was 100 million doses in 100 days. That was a really low goal, but we've actually gone up from averaging about 1.2 million a day a month ago to 1.7 million a day now. So almost a half million a day more. So the goal is to continue to increase that up to 2 million and even beyond that, and we'll stay on that pace. In Texas, as you might imagine, this past week we were playing a little bit of catch up because during the winter storm, most, if basically not all, of these vaccination sites were closed during the storm. So if you look at this chart here, we actually dropped down quite low during that past week, again, as you might imagine, but we're back up to about where things were before that winter storm, averaging around 120,000 doses per day. Most experts say that rate needs to be closer to 200,000 a day. Another thing that happened during the winter storm, besides just slowing down the pace, was some doses went to waste, which, as you might imagine, the power went out just about everywhere. Fortunately, it wasn't as bad as you might think. So 1,477 doses, according to the state's report this past Friday, were wasted during the storm due to winter storm, power outage, that kind of thing. There are other doses across the past several weeks that have had issues or been wasted as a result of refrigeration issues or whatever the problem might be. But about 1,500 is the overall total, which again is not great, but it's better than you might imagine for the entire state of Texas. One of the other good things about this vaccine is that it's going to help solve a problem that continues to grow in the state of Texas. So that's people who are getting their first shot of a vaccine, but not the second. Across the state of Texas, as of today, the numbers we got from the state is that about 150,000 people are overdue for their second shot, meaning it's been 6 weeks or more since they've gotten their first shot. Remember, it's 3 or 4, depending on what vaccine you get. And another 500,000 people, 521,000, are due for their second shot. So those are people who have gone the 3 or 4 weeks and need to get back in line. We've seen hubs telling people, please come down and get your second shots. Don't cancel on us. I know transportation's an issue for a lot of people. Getting off work is an issue, but it's really important that you go and get those second shots because as of prior to today, people haven't been using the one-shot vaccine for Johnson & Johnson. The other thing is Johnson & Johnson's vaccine is going to help us pick up the pace because that is a one-shot vaccine and people don't have to return after 3 or 4 weeks to get a second shot. So this week, 3.9 million doses of that Johnson & Johnson vaccine are being sent out. We know that the Tarrant County FEMA site and the Dallas County FEMA site will each get 6,000 doses from the state. Houston will get 12,000 for that FEMA allotment. I should say it's from FEMA, not from the state. But that's coming this week. So again, those are people who will be instantly fully vaccinated. A lot of people have kind of downplayed how effective this vaccine is, but you have to remember it is 100% effective in preventing hospitalizations and deaths, at least from the clinical trials that we've seen. And that's really good news because at the end of the day, that's what you want to prevent is those serious cases of COVID. And now I want to talk briefly about the allocations because that's been a controversy as well. As Dallas and Tarrant County are going to get doses this week, their public health departments will be getting doses from the state, but both county judges say they are still not getting doses at the level that the state had initially promised them before these FEMA sites got set up. And that's what this whole issue boils down to at the end of the day, is that the state believes that you have to count these FEMA doses, 21,000 per week, towards the overall total. Otherwise, it's disproportionate. But the counties are saying you don't need to count those for 2 reasons. 1, they're federal doses, they're not coming from the state. And 2, they have more restrictions tied to who can actually get them, which areas they live in or their socioeconomic background. So the rest of the population is punished in the meantime. Now, that continues to be a back and forth, but both the county judges, both in Tarrant and Dallas County, are really frustrated. So I want to actually pull up the doses here so you can get a look at how they break down by county. So if you see, Dallas County is getting the most, but basically on par with what Collin County is getting, and then Tarrant County is down there at 20,450 doses. So, 40% fewer than Collin County is getting this week if you don't include those FEMA sites. So the state's data says that Tarrant County has 3 times as many vaccine eligible people roughly than Collin County. But as I pointed out, they're getting fewer doses if you don't count these FEMA sites. And again, hubs aren't just vaccinating people in each county, they're vaccinating people across the area as well. So that's something we're watching. And then last, I want to talk about the 1C vaccination group. That's this upcoming group. And we don't know who's included in it yet, but we do know a few things about it. So teachers have been pushing since the very beginning to be included in the first group of vaccinations, and they're optimistic they'll be included in 1C. I talked to a head of the UEA, the United Educators Association, just last week, and he was saying they're continuing to push the state and optimistic that they'll be included in 1C. Texas has broken from the CDC guidance, which would have included teachers already. They're being vaccinated in several other states, and the hope is that they're included in this 1C group. The state hasn't given any guidance other than saying it'll be at least in the coming weeks when we see who's included in 1C. But the signs that we've been getting from them is that we know, and I've talked to the state, that they discussed the 1C group just last week. So it could be here in the next week, maybe 10 days by the time that we actually get this guidance and it's opened up to millions more people across the state of Texas. So that's all we have for this week. Again, if you have any questions, please put those in the comments so that we can address them next week. Thanks.